welcome to this episode of Just as Planned Weddings. I am your host, Christine Innes, and I'm so delighted to have the very beautiful Sacha joining us today. Welcome, lovely, to the show.
Thank you very much. It's lovely to be here.
I get so excited when I talk about weddings. Like, honestly, it's just, I mean, I just, I just love love. So, I mean, how wonderful is it that you get to work in that incredible industry? And we're going to have some beautiful conversation and share some helpful hints for couples planning the wedding today. I would love to just hand it over to you before we get started, and you can share just a
Mhm.
little bit about what you do. And then I know that we're going to have some really beautiful conversation today.
Perfect. So I am a marriage celebrant. So I am one of the people that make the day possible. We do the legal stuff as well as bringing together meaningful moments that tell a story that the couple are comfortable with, because not all couples want to have all of their story laid out for their nearest and dearest. So, what I do is very much about curating an intentional, authentic moment for my couples, and particularly focused on making sure that that moment is calm and as grounded for them as possible. Because the whole process, while weddings are lovely and they look lovely and the marketing packages them up beautifully, they are incredibly stressful. They come with a lot of angst and anxiety for a lot of couples. There are complexities when it comes to things like family and family politics, also navigating traditions and cultural beliefs. So it can become quite overwhelming very quickly. So part of what I do and what I love to do for my couples and for my families, because I also work in funerals, is to make sure that things stay calm, relaxed, so I can help keep them in the moment as much as possible and as comfortably as possible so that they're both together and enjoying the moment. Because the ceremony, which is what everyone is there to celebrate, the actual marriage itself, happens so quickly. So part of what I see my job is making sure that the couple feel like they are present in those moments because they do go so fast.
Yeah, that's probably the most common thing I hear. It's like, oh, the day was a blur,
Mm,
because I mean, you're on such a high getting ready and, you're with everybody, but then you're always constantly as a bride, you're thinking about all the different things. What if this doesn't happen? What if that doesn't happen? And, playing fix it sometimes with, multiple different areas. What's like, obviously, being a celebrant, like it's, bringing them together and it's, a lot of people go, well, okay, what's the mandatory things? I always say to people, a
mm.
photographer and a really good celebrant is the most important part, like with it, because you want to capture the moment right. But you want to make sure it's legal. But for you,
Mhm.
like obviously spending time with them leading up to the wedding, and then what's your favorite moment sort of after the wedding?
So the spending time with them leading up to the wedding is an interesting combination of legalities and making sure that they understand the complexity of all of the steps that have to happen. It's a very simple process in Australia to get married, but there are some very specific things that have to happen in specific order for it to be, as you said, legally binding. So part of what my job is to make sure that those things happen in the right sequence without becoming a burden or overwhelming for the couple. On the day, some of my favorite moments, not necessarily after. So one of the legal steps is celebrants have to make sure that each person is freely consenting so that they're actually agreeing to marry the other person without being bribed or forced or anything like that. So it's an individual meeting, it's a private meeting that I get to have with each member of the couple and just chat. And it takes 2 minutes to 5 minutes. They sign a document, but it's a really lovely moment that I get to have with them to check in, make sure that they are okay and I can answer any questions, but also to let them know that their partner is outside, how their partner is feeling, and that certain things are in place. So it's a moment of reassurance for the couple. And I love that because also you get that little bit of their excitement and anticipation as well. Um, and then I suppose my other favorite moment is just as we're finished, usually couples will have the signing and the ceremony itself. So we've finished the signing and they come back out and they're introduced to their family and friends for the very first time as a married couple. It's that moment that I love, where it's almost like a little light bulb moment for them. Because I always say to them when we sit down to do the signing, congratulations, you've been married for 30 seconds now. How does it
Yeah.
feel? And when they get up and they have that moment of introduction and they're about to take their literal first steps into marriage together, it's really special to witness that.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the most heated questions I see in all of the Facebook pages for brides planning their wedding is, why are celebrants so expensive? But I want to position this in a way because I understand, obviously, you have to have training, but also, too, this is literally what makes you a married couple. Like, this is the
Mm-hmm.
legal document for it. Um, like, when people ask you, is that like one of the questions that they mostly ask, like, oh, how much is it?
Generally, I'm fairly transparent in all of my channels in terms of
Yeah.
my pricing. So most of my couples will come to me knowing what the price is, with the exception of any travel or tolls or parking or anything like that. And in terms of that perception of expense, what people don't often consider is for all of the preparation, all of the investment, and all of the focus that goes into the wedding. The reason why everyone is going and the couple are having this moment is because they want to be married. That is, as you said, it's a legal process. And as a celebrant, we carry the weight of that legality. So there are certain steps that we have to ensure by law happen in a certain order to ensure that the marriage is actually valid. So with that comes a lot of responsibility. What a lot of people don't know is if we get it wrong, there are potentially very hefty fines. Even in some extreme cases, there is jail time. So in terms of all of the vendors that couples are engaging for their big day, no one else carries the legal weight. That's what the celebrant is there for, and that's what we've studied for. We have to confirm our, I suppose, occupational understanding every single year. So we are a governed vendor. None of the other vendors are. So you're paying for that as well as you're paying for the time. So what couples don't necessarily see is the hours that go into crafting their ceremony and researching and getting to know them and pulling out those bits of information that they want to comfortably craft into something that becomes a moment that they can share with their nearest and dearest. So it's that combination in terms of that expertise as well as the the professional ability to actually declare and process something that is legally binding, like a marriage according to law in Australia. So yeah, it's a fun one, and it's something that's often discussed by celebrants because other vendors will sometimes question uh, things that are happening in the ceremony or the order of things or how the ceremony is conducted. The celebrant is there because they own the ceremony. They own the ceremony because it is a legal process.
Yeah.
And that's the part that it would be awesome if more people sort of understood that, because it does come with a lot of weight and responsibility, and we all take it very seriously.
Yeah, I did not know about the jail thing, but it does make sense though. Like
Yeah.
I mean, that is very heavy though. And
Mm,
the ramifications afterwards as well, like, a lot of women they want to go change their names, all that sort of stuff. Like if you're not legally married, you can't do that. So, there's so much of a flow-on effect with
hmm
it. So I do understand, that there's so many different things that happen behind the scenes, and this is one of the reasons why I think it's important to discuss this so that people know, like when they're looking at celebrants, or even your photographers, like people making the cakes, they've spent, like, that's their craft,
Yeah.
with it. But people don't also know, like, the behind the scenes, like there's a lot of processing things that you need to do. There's a lot of time if you're crafting, obviously, that love story for them. I mean, that takes time as well.
hmm
So I think once they start to hear this, they'll start to appreciate that aspect a lot more as well, which is wonderful. Do you have a favorite wedding that you just constantly can relive, and just go, oh my goodness, that was just like magical?
Oh, wow. There's been a few. One of my, that's a really hard question. I had one recently in Brisbane, and the couple were getting married in the parents' backyard, and it was beautiful, and it was absolutely stunning day, and it was very elegant in its simplicity, but just the joy was absolutely palpable. It was electric. It was amazing. Um, that's one of the ones, and I love the photos from it. There's an exit photo with the confetti. What's a wedding without confetti, right? Um, but their faces and the faces of their guests are just pure joy. And I love that. It's absolutely magic. But one of the ones that I also keep coming back to, there was actually two where the couple wanted something legitimately different. So one couple wanted um, Disney themed love story. So their wedding wasn't Disney themed, but they loved, they both loved Disney, in particular, Disney princess movies. So I got to have so much fun writing their love story. It was absolutely brilliant. And I got to write it like it was a fairy tale.
Oh wow.
Even starting with, is everyone seated comfortably? Well, then we'll begin. So that was so
Yeah.
much fun. The other one was similar, but it was Harry Potter. So weaving in Harry Potter references into their love story and things like a crowd vow and stuff like that
Oh wow.
was super fun. Yeah. So they're the sort of ones I keep coming back to. It's like that balance of
Yeah.
um, the emotion, the actual emotion on the day, and also the fun and the joy of what I get to do in terms of crafting the story that we share on the day as well. I
Yeah,
can't choose
absolutely.
one.
No, no, no. I think it'd be very, very hard to do it. So, absolutely. Have you started to see a bit of a trend happening? Like either it's the micro weddings, or we're going all full out. Like we're going back to the big, family
Mm.
traditional type weddings as well. Are you starting to see a bit of a trend?
Yeah, I mean, the trend was forecast back at the end of COVID, and it's something that I myself enjoy immensely. So, elopements and micro wedding, they are my jam. I absolutely love those moments. Um, they are filled with intention, emotion, authenticity, and intimacy, which is um, it's incredible to be a part of those. This year in particular, I've seen that we're starting to get more of the micro weddings and the elopements coming through, and traditional elopements. So, what some people might refer to as paperwork only or legals only, but with a registry wedding style vibe. So, a little bit of personality and personalisation without the whole shebang and without the guest list to accompany it as well. And I think part of it is, um, I mean, obviously cost of living and where the world is at the moment. I think also the other part of it is lots of couples aren't buying into the $40,000 minimum spend wedding. The pragmatism is starting to come into play, I think, and it's one of those potentially polarizing things within the industry, but it's yeah, something I love to see because the micro wedding and the elopements um, tend to be those times where they're just a little bit more sprinkled with a bit of magic, if that makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
not to say the big shebang isn't. And they big shebangs can absolutely be intimate and they can be relaxed and they can be incredibly engaging for everyone involved. But when you're a part of something that is 35 people or less, it's very much centered on the couple. It is a very different experience.
Yeah, yeah. And you get to, I guess, capture those individual moments with those people there as well, opposed to trying to get around to see, 150 like so people as well. It does make it difficult.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you're right, it does become, it's a more intentional moment for the couple because they have curated who they want to have with them and how
Mm.
that interaction then happens as well. So there's a lot more, I suppose, purposeful
Yeah,
um, experience that happens with micro weddings. And I mean, the beauty of the micro wedding is it can be as luxurious or as simple as you want it to be as well. So there's probably a bit more freedom of scope from a creativity point of view in terms of personalizing it for the couples as well.
yeah, absolutely. We've seen quite a lot that's come through in the magazine, and like they're just really beautiful. And like they've hired out cafes and stuff like that, and they've just been able to make it their own. It could be
Yeah.
their favorite cafe that, where they had their first dates and, those sorts of things. Like it's really beautiful, like you're saying, very intentional. And it just reflects their love story so much
Hmm.
more as well. When I remember ages ago, like vow renewals were huge. Is that still something that you are asked as a celebrant to come and do?
Yeah, not as much.
Yeah.
And when I was in the UK, vow renewals were a lot more prevalent, but also because uh, couples would be married in the registry office. So celebrants aren't doing the legal part. It's a different legal system over there. So renewals tend to be quite a bit more in terms of frequent and popular. Over here, people tend to hold them off to big anniversary dates. So things like 10 or 20 years and things that have a bit more, I suppose, depth in terms of the milestone and that purpose in terms of bringing everyone back together and celebrating the couple and the fact that they have achieved something that, I mean, it is quite significant. Navigating life just generally,
Yes.
it does deserve a celebration.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. What's one thing that you have like come as like a surprise with obviously being in the wedding industry that,
Mm.
has something that's been incorporated into a wedding that has really taken you by surprise?
Oh, by surprise. I haven't had many of those recently. I suppose not so much from a ceremony point of view, but certainly from a guest or a communication point of view. So couples are having more fun with just some of the, I suppose, more um, logistical elements. So seating charts, for example, there's some really cute little things coming out at the moment with um, seating charts using Lego characters to represent the guests, for example. I love that sort of stuff where couples are leaning into their own individual passions and interests, and then bringing that to life in the wedding experience for them and their guests as well.
Yeah.
Even simple stuff like I think I posted something this morning on my stories. So it's not a new thing to ask your guests what their favorite song is. So you can give that to the DJ and make sure that everyone's engaged on the dance floor. Um, but this morning I saw one where it was a little magnetic board and they had cards that guests could go through, almost like going to a record store, for those of you who remember those. But little cards with just song title and artist. So guests could go through and then place them in order of when they would be played by the DJ.
Oh,
So stuff like that, where
yeah,
it's just a little touch, it adds experience and personalization for your guests. And it's
yeah,
also fun. At the end of
yeah,
the day, that it needs to be a moment that you enjoy with the people that you love the most.
yeah,
So those sort of things, I think, just elevate the weddings. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. What do you think is going to be the trend going forward with weddings? Do you think we're still going to do micro weddings, or are we leading more into the bigger ones?
I don't think micro weddings are going anywhere. They naturally appeal to a certain type of couple. Um, they are fit for purpose for all sorts of couples. So couples who might be having destination weddings, but they want to make sure that they're either legally married before they go, or they want to make sure that no one misses out on being a part of the moment. So couples might be having a smaller micro wedding here and then a larger destination wedding elsewhere. I think we're probably going to get back to a more stable balance between micro weddings and the full shebang, if you like. And I think possibly the full shebang might extend its legs a little bit. So rather than being 100 plus, start to see sort of more of that middle ground of it's not a micro wedding because it's a few too many guests, but it is still very much intimate and intentional in terms of the setting and also how the day is planned out and the experience for the couple and the guests as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually getting quite excited to have, the mix of the two coming back in, but also too how people are also making it like an actual event. Like I know like weddings are
Mm.
an event, but they're creating themes, for the bridal showers, the bucks nights, like do you know what I mean? Like the rehearsal dinners and all that. And it's all interlinking so people can get to a feel of what the wedding day is going to be like as well, which I'm absolutely loving at the moment. Um, I would love to know from you is when couples are looking for celebrants, is there any particular question that they should be asking celebrants?
Oh, there's a lot. Um, some of the obvious ones beyond price are things like whether or not there's an incremental cost for travel. A lot of us have inclusive travel radiuses, but couples sort of need to be aware of that. Not everyone discloses what that is. Also, understanding if there are um, any requirements in terms of, so if, for example, if your celebrant's also going to be your MC, what does that look like? So for myself, it's a continuous service. There is no break. So from the end of the ceremony all the way through to first dance, I'm on duty. Whereas other celebrants will have a hard break in the middle. So while couples are having their couples photos and guests are at cocktail hour, they'll go and just have a moment and sort of 45 minutes, maybe an hour if they're lucky, to chill out. So knowing what the service entails is a really important thing, particularly if you're looking for that celebrant plus MC type role. The other piece is understanding how the celebrant likes to work with the couples and whether or not that is comfortable for the two of you. So some celebrants might prefer in-person meetings. That's not always comfortable or feasible for the couple. Other celebrants might be more inclined to use questionnaires or prefer video calls or telephone or email. Understanding communication preferences and whether or not the celebrant's preferences align with the couple's is really important. So for myself, for example, I tend to flex across all forms of communication so that the couples can actually shop what makes them comfortable and what fits in with their own schedules as well. The other piece is how the celebrant actually works. So some celebrants, like myself, I will always share the ceremony. We have a run through, whether or not there's a rehearsal. My couples will always have the opportunity to run through with me the ceremony so there's no surprises. And they also know how it flows. They get a sense of how it's going to feel. And also we can discuss, oh, is that feeling comfortable? How does that sound? Do we need to change things up? Are you comfortable going first? That sort of stuff. So that sort of logistic conversation when it comes to specifics of the ceremony, we can have up front. And I always make sure that that happens a month out. So it's not adding to the stress of the day itself. But not everyone does that. So understanding how the couple are going to interact with their ceremony before the day is also an important thing to ask your celebrant as well.
Yeah. I think it's most important to get to know your celebrant because you want to have a little bit of fun when you're standing out there. Like, and if you're not one, obviously celebrants are used to standing in front of crowds, but it's actually quite confronting for a bride and groom to remember that they're standing in front of, yes, it's their loved ones, but you can get a little bit of stage fright. So I think it's really
Mm.
important to get to know when you feel a little bit relaxed and, at ease on it. So, but I love in what you're doing. I love the fact that you love micro weddings. I'm a big fan of them. I do love the big weddings, but micro weddings are just beautiful. Like you said, they're very intimate and personal. So we're going to pop all the details of how people can reach out to you, Sacha. But we have 4 questions that I would love to find out about you before you go. Just a little bit of fun with it. Do you have a do you have a favorite motivational quote?
Oh, a motivational quote. Um, that's a really good question. Um, I have things that I say to myself to
Please.
motivate myself, but not necessarily a quote, so to
Okay.
speak. Um, so I tend to, depending on the moment and how things are feeling, I'll have 3 words and they become the mantra of the pre-prep. Um, so it might be calm, confident, um, relaxed, or it might be effervescent, engaged, and approachable. So things like that in terms of how I'm picking up and reading the ceremony or the guests
Mm.
or the vibe of the couple. I might just repeat some words to help me with things like tone and intonation and pacing and things like that. So not so much a quote. I definitely have my songs that I will listen to for motivation. So I've got my playlist for pre-ceremony and post-ceremony. So one of my favorite ones is Float On by Modest Mouse, a UK band that I have to listen to before I do weddings.
Oh my goodness, I love that. I'm a big music person. Like, depending on my mood, I put on different types of music. So,
Yep,
totally get that. So, yeah, there's certain playlists, like when I know that I've got like a deadline, like I play that and I can get in the zone with it as well. So, love
absolutely.
it. Absolutely love it. Is there a inspirational person that you follow, whether it's in the wedding industry or just somebody in business as well?
Uh, Not so much that I follow, um, but I certainly take a lot of inspiration from Frida Kahlo um, as an artist and an incredibly powerful woman. Um, I also, I suppose if I was to say I follow anyone, God, um, I appreciate Michelle Obama's presence on social media. I don't myself love social media, so I don't spend a lot of time uh, outside of work on social media. Um, and Margaret Atwood, she's not on social media as far as I know, but she's an author and absolutely incredible. So from a writing point of view, she's an inspiration and someone I keep coming back to for yeah, creative inspiration, shall we say.
Amazing, amazing. Is there someone who you think we should have on the podcast?
Oh my goodness. Oh, I was with a wedding planner the other day. Let me look her up, and she is exactly my vibe. We both very much are coming at weddings with a focus of calm and collaboration. So working together across vendors. Um, and of course, now that you've put me on the spot, I can't think of her name. Isn't that
That's right.
terrible?
That's
I've got
okay.
too much in my head.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find her. Events with Heart. Um, and I have a mental blank on her name right now, which is
That's
absolutely
okay.
terrible. And I apologize.
That's
Jess.
okay. I'm gonna do a little bit of social media stalking so and
Yeah,
find out.
it's Jess. Events
Yeah.
with Heart. She's
Okay.
she's fabulous. Yep.
Amazing, amazing. All right, cool. Because I love getting recommendations from other people.
Oh my
From
gosh,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, it's I think it's the most important thing. If you could, obviously, we're talking a lot about weddings, but a lot of the things that people don't realize is that having a wedding business, like, it is actually a business. So people
Mhm.
who are running a wedding business out there right now, what is one piece of advice that you would give them?
Don't cut corners on accounting and bookkeeping.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of the first things I would always recommend to someone coming into the industry. Get the software,
Yeah.
and yeah, get a professional to help you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Sasha, thank you so much for being on the show and sharing your gifts with us today. I so appreciate it.
Absolutely my pleasure. Thank you very much for the challenging questions and for having me on.
You're welcome. And for everyone who is watching this episode, just remember to hit the like and subscribe button. If you've got any questions, pop them below. We're going to put all the links of how you can reach out to Sasha. And remember, if you're planning your special day, remember everything can go just as planned. Love and light to you all. Thank you so much.